was quite the switch.
That was.
That did not work as it was supposed to.
But here we are.
It's pretty encapsulating of what our day is. So the attempt, good evening. I'm Danielle Schenk from the 1011 Now streaming studio alongside my co-anchor in the streaming studio, Bill Richler, who also happens to be a meteorologist.
Wearing more of the meteorologist hat today.
Yes. He's here to tell us all about the wild weather we've been having.
It's pretty brutal out there. The last couple snows we've had, wind hasn't been as big of an issue. It's the main issue tonight. And so across the area, blizzard warnings, winter weather advisories in place. Doesn't matter what alert you're in, we're dealing with these whiteout conditions. And if anyone can kind of recall back to our storm we had back last summer in July, that was a pretty prolonged stretch of winds between 60 and 70 miles an hour, and we're kind of doing the same thing tonight. And so already having some power outages across town reported into the newsroom from LES. I'm looking at their outage map right now, and it's up to almost 4,000. And you can kind of see them scattered across town there. You can see them on the map on your screen. And so this is going to continue to be an issue as we head through this evening. And LES spoke at a press conference with the mayor earlier today. And, they normally they might be able to go out and fix some of these things, but the winds are still blowing 50, 60, 70 miles an hour. And so they can't get up in their aerials to go up and fix that stuff. So we're going to have another couple hours of dealing with the snow and the blizzard conditions, but we're going to have another 12 or so hours probably of dealing with these really intense winds.
Yeah, and we'll get to some of the news tidbits in a moment, but we'll let Bill kind of do his thing with the weather graphics.
Yeah, so go ahead and punch them up there. You can see we have winter weather advisories in purple, and surrounded by blizzard warnings in that kind of dark orange color. And again, technically speaking, Danielle, the definition of a blizzard warning has nothing to do with the amount of snow. Mm-hmm. It's wind, sustained winds, and visibility. And so you have to have winds or wind gusts greater than 35 miles an hour and visibility of a quarter mile or less for more than 3 hours is sort of the true technical definition. And so, the winter weather advisory areas, maybe they're not going to meet that true technical definition, but it's going to be whiteout conditions across the area. So the blizzard warning in sort of north central Nebraska, up near Ainsworth and O'Neill, that runs through midnight tonight. The winter weather advisory for Grand Island, Hastings, Kearney, that runs through 3 a.m. Wednesday morning. And then for Lincoln and eastern Nebraska, in the blizzard warning, that's going to run through either 3 a.m. or 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. So again, even after the snow is done falling from the clouds and way up high, it's still going to be blowing, and we're still going to be dealing with those areas of blowing and drifting snow that are going to keep those blizzard conditions going.
Yeah, and when we had our meeting earlier this afternoon to just kind of talk about what our meteorologists are going to be seeing with the weather, they said it's going to be pretty hard to measure this snow because it's going to be blowing around for so long, so we probably won't know snow totals for quite some time.
It might be one of those things where, we got, say, 4 inches of snow. That's what fell from the ground, but when we're measuring, we can only measure an inch, 2 inches, whatever that number might be. And, as these snowflakes are falling, because of the wind, they're colliding into other snowflakes. The snowflakes themselves are kind of breaking apart. When you have winds this strong, it just really makes it really, really difficult. And so it was a pretty quick transition. Right around 5 o'clock this evening, we saw that transition from rain, and then all of a sudden it was some wintry precipitation, some graupel and sleet mixed in, and then boom, it was snow, and it was heavy snow, and we've seen this flash freeze. So everything was wet from all the rain, and so streets are going to be icy. And, again, LTU Director Liz Elliott, who spoke at that press conference, said because of the rain, they couldn't pre-treat the streets with brine because the rain was just going to wash it away. So they're going to be out plowing main arterials, emergency routes, snow routes, bus routes, but certainly residential streets. They could be pretty nasty tonight. And, again, it's just one of those nights if you don't have to go out, just stay home. Yeah. Just stay home, Danielle.
And if you saw our 5 o'clock show, you noticed that both of us were on there.
Yeah, we were.
Bill did First Look Weather outside. And so were you out there when it was kind of transitioning or when it was
Yes.
actually...
I had gone out there, and it was just, it was in 5 minutes, it was rain, and then it was the sleet and the graupel, which is just basically little ice pellets. And then all of a sudden, it was just snow, big fat snowflakes. Because it's a high moisture content snow, and it was almost just like getting pelted in the face with tiny snowballs. It was not pleasant.
Yeah, and the temperature has played a big factor in all this as well. Dropping pretty rapidly.
It was 60 degrees earlier today.
Yeah.
It was nice. I did not wear a coat to work because I left and I'm like, it's nice outside. And I obviously knew it was going to get colder and
Yeah.
snowy, but
I know. I was trying to decide, like, okay, it's too hot to wear my winter coat, but I know I should bring it by the time that I leave work. I even brought my winter boots just in case.
Mhm.
That way I know I'm going to be walking through some slush and some
Mhm.
craziness. I'll probably be bound to fall, but, you know, that's what it is.
But yeah, if you punch those weather graphics back up, so again, those are the weather alerts. If you look at the snowfall forecast, again, we're thinking the heaviest snow, and again, it's one of those where it's going to be really hard to measure. So it's going to be really hard in the next 24 to 48 hours to look back on this and be like, yeah, we got this forecast really right.
Yeah.
In fact, we use the weather service, for snowfall reports and rely on the public. There's not a single snowfall report that's been sent into the weather service so far today. Nothing.
Wow.
Zero.
Which is really unique.
It is. Usually, again, you get snow, go out, measure it, tweet it to the weather service or whatever it might be. But there's no snowfall reports that we have into the newsroom just yet. So it's going to be really difficult for us to really look back on this and say it verified. But I think for the most part, it is playing out fairly close to what we had thought. And so we're still expecting a band of some heavier snow to extend across extreme southeastern Nebraska and then into parts of western Iowa, where we could see 3 to 5, maybe 3 to 6 inches of snow. And some of the short-term models are showing some even higher snowfall amounts, but those would likely impact parts of western Iowa, where they could see some spots of 6+ inches of snow. But again, 1 to 3 inches across much of the central and eastern sections of the state, including here in Lincoln. Although the way things have been snowing here in Lincoln, again, we might be on the higher end of that. Wouldn't rule out maybe 4 inches of snow here in the capital city. So again, it's going to continue to snow, but again, it's going to be really difficult to measure because of the wind. So we have high wind warnings across the state. And sometimes it's weird. You'll notice the hole there in north central Nebraska. It's not that it's not going to be windy there. It's just that those areas are in the blizzard warning, and so that kind of the high wind warning gets kind of worked into that blizzard warning. But high-end wind gusts up to 70 miles an hour are going to be possible. So if you look at our in-house model here, future wind gusts, it's going to continue. 50, 60, upwards of 70 miles an hour as we head through this evening. 10 o'clock tonight, those reds that you see on there in southeastern Nebraska, those are where our contour hits 70 miles an hour. So again, some 70 to maybe 75 mile an hour wind gusts certainly can't be ruled out. 70 is the highest we've seen so far today out near Kearney. Midnight tonight, it's still blowing. Overnight tonight, it's still blowing. Again, by this point, snow's done, but we wake up early tomorrow morning. If you're sending a kid out to school, put some bricks in their backpack, it's going to be blowing still 40 to 50, maybe close to 60 miles an hour. Even by the noon hour, then, it's still windy. I would call this maybe more regular windy as opposed to what we have today. And then by tomorrow afternoon, again, it's still regular windy, gusting to maybe 30 to 40 miles an hour. So just so much wind, Danielle, heading our way over the next really 24 hours. Yeah, when you can get, the late spring or maybe an early fall storm where there are leaves that are still on the trees, that can really just, it can make things that much more difficult because there's that much extra weight and there's that much more surface area for a wet, heavy snow to accumulate. So thankfully that's not too much of an issue for us tonight. But again, it's just going to be the strength of the wind and the prolonged strength of the wind that could cause some issues with tree damage, power line damage. I think, again, we've already seen some reports of power outages across town. I'm concerned myself. I have 2 big tree branches hanging in my backyard from the storm we had last July that are still hanging there, and I think there's probably a pretty good chance those might be coming down tonight. I just hope they don't fall on the kids' swing set in the backyard, but we'll just kind of have to wait and see kind of what happens tonight. Mm-hmm. Up to 6,000. Let me see. Let me see if my house is on here, Danielle. I don't see any in my neighborhood, so that's at least my wife is home with the kids by herself, so thankfully she's not dealing with any power outages. But again, looks like the northern half of town is where we're seeing most of these power outages. The biggest cluster here, it looks like about 1,700. That looks like about Cornhusker Highway and Havelock area up there in northeast Lincoln. But again, there's a couple spots, about 1,000. This is going to be near 29th and Merrill Street, and then another almost 1,000 near 56th and P Street. So lots of power outages. Again, if you have to report a power outage, go to LES's website. Really easy to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think, Danielle, I just want to say, I think your mic is muted. Scroll down on the audio mixer there in vMix and make sure. Oh, yeah, there it is. Computers are the worst sometimes. It is. I'll just turn my mic. We can do it like that.
Fashioned. Here you go.
Well, jumping back over to the current conditions here, Danielle. Again, you can see right now in Lincoln, coming up on the 7 o'clock hour, 3/4 mile visibility with a 55 mile an hour wind gust. Snow obviously still falling. Temperatures in the lower 30s. On the Tempest weather stations across the Lincoln Metro, low 30s for temperatures. This was a really interesting map to see earlier this afternoon as the cold air arrived. On one side of town, you had temperatures in the low 40s. On the other side of town, you had temperatures in the mid to upper 50s. So that was a really interesting map to be able to see. Statewide, again, most everyone's now down into the lower to middle 30s. Their temperatures are holding fairly steady. That is the good news. It's not getting extremely cold on the back end of this system, so it is a fairly quote-unquote warm system for us, which is good. Visibility, again, you can see is it's worst right now across east central Nebraska, where we have 1/4 mile visibility in York, Columbus, 1/2 mile in Tacoma and Wayne, 3/4 of a mile here in Lincoln. So again, where that heavier snow is falling is where we're seeing that reduced visibility across the area. And here's the winds. They're sustained at around 30 to 40 miles an hour, sustained at around 30 to 40 miles an hour. And the wind gusts, again, as we approach 7 o'clock, anywhere from around 40 to 50 to around 60 miles an hour. And again, you know, you have a thunderstorm roll through and you have a 60 mile an hour wind gust. Usually it's just kind of like, boom, there's the wind gust and it's done and over with. But tonight it's just like constantly blowing 50, 60, 65 miles an hour. And that's where the problems are going to be. So here's the satellite radar picture. Again, you can see the changeover from rain to snow continues to kind of push into extreme southeastern Nebraska. So again, areas like Falls City and really Richardson County are the only ones who left to see that changeover. But just about everyone in eastern Nebraska has seen that changeover from rain to snow. We've been having some snow squall warnings on and off across parts of central and eastern Nebraska. Nothing currently in place right now. But again, you can see those areas of snow out west are kind of beginning to fall apart just a little bit, which is kind of what we had expected. And now the main band is really kind of across eastern Nebraska, and you can kind of see the western edge of that band has now kind of pushed through Grand Island and Hastings. So I'd say for folks in Grand Island and Hastings, their snow, their falling snow, their additional snow is basically done with. There's still going to be some blowing snow. But that's the edge of the precipitation shield that we're going to watch. So snow will end from west to east tonight as that as this whole system slowly pushes its way to the east. And you can see as we zoom out, that low is currently across Missouri. You can see it spinning. We're on the cold end, Danielle. On the other end, they had an enhanced risk. There's tornado watches down across Louisiana, parts of Mississippi. And so this whole thing is going to continue to slowly push eastward. You know, with these systems, a lot of times we'll worry about dry air getting pulled into the system. That really just saps our snowfall totals. Well, that dry air, you can see it punching into parts of Missouri there. So dry air is not a concern for us tonight. But so snow's not going to end because the dry air moves in. Snow's going to end as this whole system, which is several hundred miles wide, continues to push off to the east. So if we look at Skycast, this is 7 o'clock, which I think is doing pretty good. Real world conditions. Our in-house model, I think, has been pretty accurate. You can see that western edge of the precipitation of the snowfall again between York and Grand Island. And so as we move forward in time, you jump ahead to 8 o'clock. That western edge is kind of just on the edge of Seward County, kind of from a line from Norfolk, Columbus down towards Seward or York. And so then as we head towards 10 o'clock here in Lincoln, we're starting to see things begin to really kind of wrap up. I think by midnight tonight, most of the snow, again, is probably across the border into Iowa. And we'll still obviously be dealing with the wind and the blowing snow, but additional falling snow should have basically wrapped up by then. And then as you head overnight tonight into Wednesday morning, it's dry, but it's still cold, it's windy, and then mainly sunny. Tomorrow, it's going to be one of those days you look out the window and it's like, hey, it's sunny. It doesn't look too bad out. But in reality, it's going to be still blowing 30, 40, maybe 50 miles an hour through the day on your Wednesday. Temperature-wise, tonight, Danielle, lows are in the teens to low 20s, but we'll wake up with single-digit wind chills tomorrow morning, so a very cold morning. So along with the bricks in the kids' backpacks, make sure they're
bundled up.
And then high temperatures tomorrow afternoon. Mid-30s to low 40s for the eastern half of the state. We'll get some upper 40s and low 50s in the west, but again, it's going to be windy, and it'll feel more like the 20s likely for most of the day tomorrow, so it's going to be pretty chilly. The good news is...
Woo, good news.
I'm going to skip over Thursday and Friday because that's another chance for snow. The good news is we spring forward on Sunday. So we're going to set our
not
clock.
Really good news, but
I mean we get an extra hour of sunlight in the evening, but I have a high around 70 next Monday and low to mid 70s next Tuesday.
So once again, just got to get through the worst to get to the best.
Yes, that's correct.
And so with this storm so far, I mean, what are your thoughts on what we've seen? I mean, is there anything that really sort of sticks out to you?
I mean, just the wind, just the amount of wind. And, it's not unusual to see a storm like this in the springtime. On one end of the state, you have rain. On the other end, you have snow. We see that fairly regular, but just the amount of wind that comes with it, you don't see that all that often. And so it's exhausting. I spent 2 years in Wyoming, and there's a lot of wind in Wyoming, and it's exhausting, and it reminds me of Wyoming, where it's just like you have to walk almost at an angle just to get blown back upright. And so that's going to cause the issues tonight is the blowing snow, the drifting snow, reduced visibility. Travel will be difficult, dangerous, if not next to impossible at times. There's already been crashes on the interstate, coupled with the power outages. You might run into intersections that don't have, working street lights or whatever it might be, or stoplights. And so just the wind, it's exhausting.
And here's a look at our Lincoln Sky View.
It doesn't look that bad. You look at it and you're like, that doesn't look terrible. And then you step outside and you're like, this genuinely kind of sucks.
Yeah, I know our graphics are kind of taking it over, but it looks pretty with the lights kind of on the street, and you're like, oh, it's kind of
like
magical. But then you realize you're like, oh. No, it's not nice out there.
Not magical at all.
So again, just I guess to kind of reiterate some of the news tidbits, LTU had a press conference earlier today saying that this storm presented some unique challenges for them as, rain falling before the snow, and then the high winds were expected to blow much of the salt and brine, so they had to kind of switch their approach here. You said that they've had some plows on standby. I think
they were going to basically, as it falls, they'll start getting out on main arterials. So I'm sure, again, like O Street, Cornhusker,
things like that,
84th, all that stuff's going to get plowed. There was a lot of slush out there. So, I mean, those side streets, residential streets, they're going to be dealing with that. And again, the temperature right now is still right around freezing. So it's still going to fall, and, all that's going to freeze. And so there's going to be layers of ice out there. So it's just going to be a mess.
Yeah.
But it's not going to stick around long.
Yeah, and I think some of our 1011 news team is working to talk with LTU this afternoon to kind of get an update on what they've seen with the storm so far. So if we do get that, that'll be online and in our show at 10 o'clock. Another city note, StarTran buses are stopping operations here in 7 minutes at 7 o'clock, 3 hours earlier than scheduled. So if you need some real-time updates on the Lincoln roads, you can download the city's Ride LNK app for that. At the beginning of this stream, we also talked about Lincoln Electric System being on standby for those who may lose power. And
they did go down. They're at 5,000 now.
Yes. So standing by, but now they're in action, trying to probably get these things fixed. I mean, I know it probably won't be as quick because the weather, again, posing quite a challenge for them to get up high and fix those.
Can't do it. I think he said 40 miles an hour was that kind of their cutoff. They can't get up if it's more than that, and it's been more than that, and it's going to stay more than that for a while.
Yeah, and I think we have some tips and other things that those officials have said earlier today on our website. So, anything else you want to add before we end this stream?
I don't think so. It's just, again, it's one of those nights where, again, just stay home. Hopefully, I went to the grocery store yesterday. I was kind of surprised it wasn't nearly as busy as I thought it might be ahead of what we were dealing with today. But just stay home, make a cup of hot chocolate.
Yeah,
maybe put some Baileys in it or something like that.
Yeah, I think Husker men's basketball plays great tonight, right?
Peacock.
So
yep, that's right.
That's something to watch, look forward to, stay at home. But yeah, this storm just so fluid that it's hard to really predict anything for sure. Alrighty. Thanks for joining us, Bill. For more news and updates, you can visit our website and follow us on all our social platforms from our newsroom to wherever you are. See you on the next stream.